This is so strange. I have not made a video on this channel for a long time. I think the last video I did was about my breast cancer scare. I feel like that was back in 2020. I know it was around when the start of COVID. It was right at the start of when we had all the COVID and the lockdowns. I remember that. I know there was a couple of people who asked me what happened and how I'm doing. I'm fine. It wasn't breast cancer. It turned out to be so just prior to me finding the lump, I'd been doing a lot of decorating my house by myself, and I remember I have really high ceilings for my hallway, and I remember banging myself with this massive pole, and what I didn't know was how that had caused a bruise in my left breast to harden, and that's what it was. So when I went for my mammogram, they basically said that everything was clear, all the tissue was clear. It was some of the healthiest tissue that they'd ever seen. Oh, I remember I started crying, and the two nurses were like comforting me. I was just like, it was such a relief. It was like such a scary time for me. And I think it's important for me to recap on that, because this has led to the next stage in my life, and I haven't posted on this channel for a long time because something's been going on in the background, and now is the time to talk about it. And it is kind of a bit surprising and a bit shocking, but life is full of curveballs, isn't it? And you never know what's going to happen, what's around the corner, and some things people won't understand. So, get yourself a cup of coffee, pause the video, because this is going to be a bit of like, really? Wow. And I'm not just exaggerating either. So, let's go. Right, so are we ready to get into this story? As the title suggests, you've probably got a good idea what's going to be said. Okay, so after my breast cancer scare, it made me very, very reflective about my life and how short it is. And I have worked with people with severe illnesses and conditions, and also sometimes we've had end of life. And it was around that time as well, when I had my breast cancer scare, we also had a gentleman come to us who had 3 months to live and had bowel cancer, and he was only 37. So you become very reflective of your life when you think death is could be knocking on your door. And that is very, very scary to me. So I really reflected, and I looked back, and I just thought, having always been plagued with not being good enough, not fitting in with society, being judged for that, being judged for being quiet. I remember in school the nurse coming to me and saying, don't you want to be more confident and not a quiet, shy person? And I was quite stubborn, and I was like, I'm happy with the way I am. And actually, why have I got to mould to other people's perceptions and how I should be in society? And it made me really realise that I've never felt like I fitted in. And then I thought, what about those people who have mental health problems, who are homeless, who have addictions, who, even if you're on benefits and unemployed, we judge people and we stereotype people and we look down on them. And then and also people who've been in prison and everything. And I wanted to do something, but I didn't want to go out and do it. I wanted to do something and make a difference from home. And I was really like, well, what can I do? So in the UK, I decided that I was going to look into writing to somebody that was incarcerated or in prison, that didn't have long on their sentence, because I wanted to make a difference. And if I could be encouraging, supportive, then and help somebody to believe in themselves again, because I think a lot of it is actually having people to have that faith in you and belief in you and encourage you. I really honestly do. And I think sometimes somebody from an outside perspective, rather than a family member or a friend, I think sometimes somebody that's on the outside can be quite influential. So I looked into writing to a prisoner in the UK, but all I could see was like it was charity based, but it was almost like if you signed up to do that, they would pick you someone to write to, and I didn't want that. I wanted to be able to select who I was going to write to, because I was investing my time and my energy, but also I didn't want to just be given to anybody. I wanted to choose. I wanted that control, and that wasn't available in the UK. So then I looked at the American side and I thought, well, this is a lot more easier. It's very much a pen pal service. I can do it through the site. They don't need to know where I live. They don't need to know my address. There's an element of safety because it would be all done through this site. And that's what I did. So I used the site, I think it was writeaprisoner.com. I went through many profiles. I remember spending a whole, and can I just say, it took me a whole year to do this. From the initial thought to do it to actually implementing it took me a whole year to actually pluck up the courage, because I was really nervous. When you talk about writing to a prisoner, you're like, ooh, you don't know what you're going to get. You know, you don't know what's going to happen. But I believed in what I was doing, that if I could help somebody. So I narrowed it down to 4 profiles. I had 2 guys and 2 women, because I know there's a perception that if a woman's going to write to somebody in prison, oh, they must like the bad boy stuff and blah, blah, blah. And it actually wasn't that. It was about me wanting to make a difference. Because when I went through that scare, that death scare, one of the things I have always said is that on my deathbed, I want to have made a difference with my life. I want to go knowing that I've done good, or I've changed somebody's life for the better in some way. And that is generally how I feel. I don't want to die and think I've led a life of just being completely selfish, and it's all been about materialistic stuff, having nice things and a nice life, and not giving back to those people who are less fortunate. And it generally was that, and hence why I had 2 men and 2 women. The 2 women both had drug charges. They were both nearing the end of the sentence. I think they both had roughly a year and a half. I remember the one was she'd learnt to read Braille, and she wanted to help blind people when she got out, and I thought that was amazing. The one guy had a lot of fraud in his past, and that kind of made me a little bit nervous, I suppose, because I was like, oh, I don't want to get that made me more skeptical. And then there was a guy called Justin and I'm going to show you his profile. This was his profile. Okay, so this was his profile. Hello, my name is Justin. I'm really excited about the opportunity to meet new positive people willing to bring relief from the isolation and stress of prison and COVID. I'm fortunate to be able to get out in 23 months. This probably sounds like a lifetime to you all in the world, but after almost 8 years in here, to me it's very close. I feel extremely socially awkward and have some PTSD. I'm hoping relationships with all people that can help me transition to life in the free world, what you all may find boring and maybe just another day. I hunger to hear about and sharing even the simplest of things, everyday things. Some of my interests include travel, camping, fishing, astronomy, biking, nature watching, lake, swimming, shopping and gardening. I'm from southern Utah. One of the biggest draws besides my hub, Utah, is Sand National Park. There are places in Zion where deer eat out of your hands, and don't get me started on fishing. I do have a career goal of being a substance abuse counsellor, so I can help the addicts still struggling. I battered opioid addiction and all the baggage it brings. I really hope to meet people who are like-minded, people who love life, living, and want to enjoy all the offers, people who are the solution, people who make a difference. I welcome people who also may just be lonely and want to make a friend and be a friend. Thank you for taking the time to read this. And that was his profile. So the one thing that I really liked about his profile was how friendly it came across, and it was just nice. And I liked the fact that he wanted to be a counsellor when he got out to help people who with drugs and substance issues, and that really appealed to me, because that's me. That's why I'm interested in psychology and counselling and holistic practice. characters. I'm very into that. So he was the one I wrote to. I remember sending him a message and he wrote back. No, I didn't send him a message, sorry. I added him as a contact and they can see that you've added them. And he wrote to me first. And that was it. That was the moment everything, my life changed. Within a couple of months, I realised that I really liked him. I really, really liked him. And the one thing that I really liked was how open he was, how friendly he was, and how he wasn't afraid to tell me things that left him open to be vulnerable. Obviously, I checked everything out. So when he would tell me things, I was like on my computer on Google, Googling everything. And then the trouble was, being in the UK and him being in America, a lot of stuff was restricted by the EU. I was like, bloody EU, restricting me, get me into that computer. I want to see what it says. So yeah, I wasn't naive, but I had feelings that I've never had ever before in my life with anybody, and those feelings grew and grew and grew. So within a few months we were both like telling each other we loved each other, and we just knew, we just connected. There was just something. I remember the first videogram he sent me, and I remember just looking and going, I just looked at it. It wasn't like a happy feeling. It wasn't even like, oh, he sent me a videogram. It wasn't any of that. It was literally, I just looked at it and my stomach flipped over, and then I watched it again. Then I watched it again. Maybe again and again. And I was like, I just felt something straight away in my stomach, you know. And I thought, uh-oh. I remember thinking, uh-oh. I remember telling my mum I was going to do this, and she went, please don't fall in love with a prisoner, Sarah. Please, please. Anyway, so we are over 2 years later now from that initial contact back in 2021. It's been over 2 years. 2 years and 4 months. And he is now out. He got out in November of this year. And it's December currently of 2023. And obviously we've never met. But throughout the relationship of getting to know each other, we spent that time. At first we were able to do like text messaging and send videos which were like 30 seconds long. And then he got moved to the Fed prisons, and that's where everything changed, and we really did mainly have just letters. The amount of letters I've got, I really should show you. Right, over the time, there was just so much. So for example, I don't know which one to pull out first. So you can see a lot of letters were sent during that time, and in those letters we shared our innermost fears and our hopes and our dreams and our lives and painful memories, painful things that have happened to us, and that went both ways. And I've never done that with anybody ever in a relationship. When I look back at relationships now, I would date people that were generally quite well established, good careers in general, because I was broken, and I felt that I needed somebody who was confident and outgoing, who could guide me. But actually when I look back, I can see that I was actually intimidated by that, and I didn't feel good enough. I never felt good enough ever at any point, whether that be in matching somebody career-wise, matching somebody money-wise, matching somebody in status, matching somebody in background, matching somebody in health, or matching somebody in looks. I never felt that I was equal to them. When I met Dustin, I felt equal to him. I did. I know he thinks that he's not good enough for me because of his background and the crimes that he's done and being in and out of prison. But I generally don't look at him that way, and when I'm talking to him, I feel completely equal with him. I never ever feel like I'm up here and he's down there, or that I'm superior to him. Never once have I ever felt that. And that's what's been so different, and that's what's been so refreshing. So I know it probably is like, how can you fall in love with somebody you've never met? We have spent a lot of time letter writing, so conveying our feelings and thoughts through that. We also would speak on the phone, which this past year in 2023 was really difficult, because he had cancer and he was put in the SHIA and he was in the Feds prisons, which is very different. So I might have had a 5-minute call once a month. It was awful. This past year has been awful, but I never lost hope, and we still had our letter writing. We I'll get my words out. We video visited a year on from our first initial contact, and I remember that first time I was just like, oh my God, I really like him. I really like him. But then since he's come out, and I think the very next day he was straight down the store getting a phone, and I said, you've got to download WhatsApp. It's really good. You can send messages, voice messages, videos. We can call, we can video visit. It's a brilliant app. And he did that, and it has just been non-stop ever since. And we have definitely connected. We are sharing so much more now, and I'm getting to see his behaviours more, his mannerisms, everything. And we have really deep and long conversations. Like, we talk every day. Not only does he blow my phone up with messages and love songs and all of this, and we're actually over a month after his release, and he's still consistent. We're still consistent, and we still really love each other. We've gone public about our relationship on Facebook and stuff with our friends and family. And do I have fears? Obviously I have fears, because he's starting from absolutely having nothing. And I don't have loads myself, but I'm willing to sacrifice what I do have to be with him. He can't come to the UK because of his criminal record. I have to go to America. And if we want to be together for the rest of our lives, then I've got to move. And that's dependent on immigration. There's a lot of fears around that, because he's been convicted of crimes. That is how we're going to get around that. It's going to be a really tough journey. But this channel is changing. It's adapting to be about our relationship. It is going to be about him and his journey, transition. I know he wants to make a difference to other people that are struggling, and it's about that. And I really hope that we are able to be together down the line, and we're going to meet going to America in 2024, and from that point, hopefully this journey will keep moving forward. It's going to be really tough. It's not going to be easy. To be together is not going to be easy, but I have to have faith. There have been so many coincidences as well in this relationship, really weird things. I think that's a video in itself, to have, that I would deem as signs that we're meant to be. So I could be doing this video and I could look back in 5 years and go, what an idiot I was. But in this present moment, my head and my heart match. And I've always said, your head and your heart have to match for it to be right. And I'm going to continue this journey with him. So hopefully over the coming year and couple of years, if I'm able to, you'll see the visa application and everything, and hopefully they will allow it. If that doesn't work, we have to find another way. I don't know, it's terrifying to me, because your life is in somebody else's hands, and it, like I said, he can't leave America. So if that works, then you'll see, hopefully, engagement, wedding. You're going to see, we want to buy a piece of land and build our own place. So, and also we want to help others, and together we want to do that. And also it's his journey as well, from going from a broken person with such a checkered history to being a man that you can be proud of, and that's really important, and that's what this is about. But I wanted to do this video because the next videos you are going to see are questions about us and about him, and he's filmed some stuff which I'm going to be editing today. I've got my computer ready. So we've got some questions, and then we've got relationship questions that we're going to do about our relationship, and I'm going to put a lot of inserts and clips in there so you get a feel for it. So I really hope please be positive in the comments and not be negative. If you've got any questions, leave them down below, and watch out for the next videos. I'm aiming to post, because I've never been brilliant at posting on a regular basis, but I'm going to aim to post at least one a week, and maybe two depending on time constraints. And you're going to watch all of that as well. Like, I've got to completely declutter my house because I need to be in a position that if we applied for the fiance visa and we were successful, I have 3 months to get married. 3 months on them saying yeah, like it would happen that quickly. So it doesn't mean that there aren't a lot of bumps in the road. Of course there are. I've got old behavior from my old past, and from feelings. I've got a lot of emotional baggage and old traits that I have to change, and so does he. And we're talking through all of that. We communicate exceptionally well, and that, I think, is the key for our longevity together. I really do. So if you want to follow this journey and the direction of this channel, which I hope you do, please subscribe, hit the like button as well, and watch out for the next video.